Hey, episode 44, Chris Cast, season 1. My name's Chris Abraham, and we're going to be talking about my sobriety. Now, I haven't had anything to drink since I partied with my buddy David on my birthday. I think we went to a Turkish slash Middle Eastern slash Turkish, Greekish restaurant, and I had lots of wine. I think Malbec or maybe Zinfandel, red Zinfandel, and then I ended with Rocky. And then on the 11th, I believe.
Sorry, this device lost its connection.
On the 11th, I went out with my friend Zandria, and we had tons and tons of sangria until we were both kind of lit. And then I never had any wine or anything ever again because I realized after that night that my heart literally wanted to force itself back into AFib, and I didn't want that. I've been fighting atrial fibrillation since 2017, 2018, and had cardioversions and all kinds of stuff. And now found a really good cocktail of medicines that have been able to keep me out of it. And I can drink coffee, but anytime I even have anything alcoholic, my heart goes ka-thump, ka-thump, ka-thump. And my little EKG tester says, I don't know, feels AFib-y. So I've just given it up. So it's been April, May, June, July, August, September, October, November. 8 months. And I realize that I'm not an alcoholic. I definitely am an addict, but gluttony is more of my problem. What allowed me to stop drinking completely is twofold. And they would be all of my drinking is affectation because all of my favorite writers and poets were drunks. Secondly, I think there's three things. There's always three things. Secondly, my mom and dad drank, and even though that was in many ways what killed both of them, it was also sexy and interesting about them too. And finally, the thing that kept me from drinking. The first two ones, I realized that that's stupid because drinking killed my mom and dad. Even though they were sophisticated New Yorkers. And my dad did end up drinking, big plastic bottles of vodka and really bad scotch and all that other stuff. And my mom, at the end, and she and I enjoyed $2 Chuck, which is, isn't bad. And what's that cheap Australian stuff? Yellowtail? I don't know. Anyway, and then the third and final one is I remember growing up and being as lonesome and as alone and as solitary. I'm not lonely, but I lived a life that was, filled with insecurity and fear and anxiety. And I could always just make myself perfectly happy with a nice, cool, cold glass of water. And then I discovered coffee, and coffee is even better than a nice, cold glass of water. So I remembered back to an entire 16 years of my life where I hadn't touched any alcohol. Maybe it was 14 years of my life. I don't know how early I took to I went to an all-boys Catholic school. You had to go ahead and represent. Otherwise, you were, the F word. So there you have it. My addiction, my alcoholism is gluttony. Which will kill me as readily as anything else. But what it doesn't do is it doesn't make people call you an alcoholic. And the reason why I think my friends are really excited to see me not drinking anymore is not because I was ever a bad drunk, but, and you can never be a judge of that yourself, but whenever I visited them, I would drink them out of house and home. There's these people out there who are gifted bottles and bottles of alcohol. Rocky and Ricard and Scotch and beautiful vodkas and amazing tequilas, and they just sit there in their wet bar. What kind of what kind of problem do you have if you have a wet bar and you're not a drinker? If you have a collection of alcohol and you don't drink, like, it never made any sense to me. It's like having a collection of toys and never playing with them, or having, like I said, I obsessively collect bags, but I desperately every day try to figure out how to use them. Um, and I guess my collection of guns are being unused, but I appreciate them every day, and I don't think people who don't drink at all think of that. And I don't even think my best friend Mark thought about my drinking very much until I went to his wedding, and in a group of frickin' Northern California, and Los Angeles teetotalers, the bartender at the open bar felt like it was important to let me and everybody know that over the course of the wedding, I polished off an entire bottle of tequila on my own. P.S. I felt proud, but I felt there was a lot of shame and judgment in the room. Isn't that a manly thing to do? Isn't, like, since when did the nerds take over the frickin' Roadhouse? Anyway, yeah, I'm judging you nerds. Um, yeah, Tim Ferriss's of the world, geez. Well, Tim Ferriss at least says that he does drink. He uses his Aura Ring and his Wahoo and his Yoo-Hoo and his Garmin and his Fitbit to see what drinking, probably not drinking, but probably sipping things. Um, anyway, so I guess if you're around teetotalers, you're a drunk if you're a drinker. But I did notice that all my friends knew that I liked to have a nice drink. So whenever anybody came into my neighborhood and took me out, whether it's Agent K or whether it's Mike Tuck or anybody, they would freaking get me liquored up. They would say things like, "No, I'm not going to have any drinks because I have to responsibly drive hours and hours to my Dulles area home." But man, they would freaking drop coin on liquoring up me with top shelf tequilas or so on and so forth. So, haven't touched it. There's a convenience store right down in my basement that has the most lovely little bottles of Malbec and some quite nice stuff down there that is acceptable, not yellowtail. And no, just the only alcohol that I have is stovetop mocha Bialetti coffee, um, and yeah. So my problem has never been alcoholism. I thought that my problem wasn't even smoking. I tried to be a chain smoker for a lot of years there and smoked Marlboro Reds, and then had what's the crazy one in Silk Cut when I lived in England, and when I visited Scotland, Marlboro Red again, and then there was some Marlboro Lights in there, and then I'm like, real men smoke Marlboro Reds, and then of course I smoked yellow and blue packs of the hippie cigarettes that didn't have uh, chemicals in there. Um, and then when I lived in Germany, I smoked Marlboro Reds again. And then when I entered into a world where you can't smoke anywhere, I just gave it up. I'm sure I have the physical effects. So I think my addiction is to affectation. I think if I see people doing cool stuff enough, I want to emulate them in an attempt to telegraph that kind of coolness. Um, I don't know. Let's get back to that in a second. Welcome back, episode 44, Chris Cast, season 1. This is my addiction. Yeah, I definitely have gluttony. I don't know if I have sloth, but I definitely have gluttony. Definitely flirting with sloth. Am definitely obese, definitely overweight, definitely by any measure, not just you're fluffy or you're heavy set. Like by any measure, I am enormous. And so that is I'm not free of stuff. Like I'm not trying to make excuses or I'm not deluded about that. And I'm not trying to throw my ability to drop alcohol and cigarettes like a hot potato because I am yoked. I am under the yoke. I am under the yoke of the addiction to food and that sort of thing, you know? And so, yeah, nobody gets out alive. So, but it's really nice not to have AFib, and it's really nice to be able to get onto the rowing machine and put in a good amount of work and not feel like I have to worry about arrhythmia or, hey, Google, what's the problem if your heart goes very fast?
On the website webmd.com, they say, the normal heart averages between 60 and 100 beats per minute. When your heart beats faster than this, you have a condition called tachycardia. When your heart races, it's working too hard. It doesn't have enough time to fill with blood or pump it to the rest of your body.
Thank you. Yeah, tachycardia is what I didn't like playing with. And when you have AFib, you suffer from bouts of tachycardia. Your heart goes slow, and then your heart goes fast, and your heart goes slow. Your heart goes fast. You don't have any real ability for your heart to recover. It's like full-time HIIT, high intensity interval training, but not in a good way, like in an exhausting, in like a way that your heart is going to exhaust itself and then go into heart failure. So don't do that. Anyway, this is my little rant about that. I will say now that I don't drink, I am painfully aware that every single show that is a little bit edgy on any television network, any cable channel, any news, any TV series or even movie, there is a lot of smoking, a lot of drinking, a lot of full glasses of scotch, a lot of big goblets of wine. Sure, if you ask your friends that are in recovery, they'll agree too. I don't think I notice how much cannabis, marijuana, edibles, etc. are in it. I don't think there's ever any mention of opioids or anything like that, opioid addiction, unless it's a big warning. But it's never a big warning with alcohol and tobacco. So I guess that those two lobbying organizations have got their hooks in. Anyway, back to the going away part of the podcast, and I'll talk to you soon. Welcome back to episode 44, season 1, Chris Cast. You can reach me if you want after this ramble at +1 202 352 5051. You can use that for WhatsApp or texting or even calling me. But I won't answer unless I know who you are and I owe you a call and you try again and it's the perfect timing that I see you calling. And it would be better if you text me to let me know you want to chat and I'll call you back because I probably most of the time leave my phone on Do Not Disturb. But you can schedule a date at calendly.com/chrisabraham/15. You can email me at chris@abraham.su. You can get me at Chris Abraham on Twitter, at Chris Abraham on Instagram, linkedin.com/in/Chris Abraham. ChrisAbraham.com is my HQ. Chris-Abraham.com is my Tumblr. What else? LinkedIn.com/in/Chris Abraham is my LinkedIn. And that's it for now. Love you. Mean it. Care about what you're up to, please let me know. Drop me a line. If you can, subscribe, like, comment, review, write a review, give me stars, give me thumbs up. You don't always have to do it on Apple Podcasts. You can do it anywhere where you experience the podcast, because that's where you are. That might be where your friends are, and the algorithms care. So anyway, until next time, tschüss, tschüssi, tschüssi, auf Wiedersehen, guten Abend, guten Tag, gute Nacht, hasta luego, hasta mañana, tout à l'heure, tout va bien. I don't know, that one's wrong. À tout à l'heure. A bientôt. I don't know. So I'll stop now. Stop!